Welcome to The Cosmic Joke, Finding Humor in the Human Drama, written and presented by Mindful Literary. Life, with all its twists, turns, and chaos, can often feel like an endless drama, filled with moments of triumph, heartbreak, and absurdity. But what if there's a punchline hidden in all that chaos? What if the secret to navigating this wild, unpredictable journey is learning to laugh at it? And at ourselves? This audiobook is your invitation to see life through a new lens, one that finds wisdom in the absurd, resilience in the humor, and connection in shared laughter. As we explore the cosmic joke of existence, we'll uncover how embracing the ridiculousness of it all can lead to deeper joy, freedom, and understanding. Before we dive in, I'd like to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It might seem like a small gesture, but it makes a huge impact, helping us bring more thought-provoking and uplifting content to audiences like you. Together, we can spread wisdom, one story and one laugh at a time. Now let's begin the journey of discovering humor in the human drama, and perhaps finding a bit of ourselves along the way. Introduction: the punchline we're all missing. In the aftermath, instead of fuming or scolding me, my mom burst into laughter. As she swept up the shards, she declared, "That's one way to decorate the yard." We ended up using the mess as a backdrop for an impromptu confetti fight, turning a catastrophe into a memorable part of the party. Everyone got involved, and soon the tears of laughter replaced the earlier gasps of horror. This birthday debacle taught me that life doesn't always go as planned, but that's what gives it character. The unexpected moments, whether they're a fallen chandelier or an unplanned twist in the script, can turn into joy if we allow ourselves to see the humor in them. It's these laughable misadventures that color our lives with hints of happiness when we least expect it. Reflecting on that day, it strikes me how often we plan and prepare, hoping to avoid mess-ups, yet life has a quirky way of throwing us curveballs. The shattered glass and scattered confetti became a metaphor for how we need to approach unexpected turns, with laughter and a spirit of adventure. Life is full of unpredictable comedic moments that often teach us more than a straight path ever could. Instead of shying away from hiccups, we should lean in, embrace the mishaps, and savor the absurdity. The next time you find yourself in the middle of a disaster, remember my 6th birthday party. Laugh, and perhaps you'll turn your calamity into comedy gold. Life has a curious way of presenting itself, often draped in layers of absurdity that we've learned to accept without a second thought. Think about it. We rush through our days, adhering to a series of unwritten rules and societal norms, all while dismissing the wonderfully bizarre things happening around us. When we take a moment to lift the veil of normalcy, we often find humor, and within that humor, some of the most profound truths about our existence. Embracing these absurdities can lead to moments of clarity, urging us to reflect on what truly matters in the chaotic tapestry of life. For instance, consider how our frantic chase for success can seem utterly ridiculous when we recognize just how arbitrary many of society's metrics for success are. It is in these moments of realization that we discover the absurdity of our definitions and priorities, pushing us to reevaluate what is genuinely significant. Everyday life is filled with small, laughable occurrences that can shine a light on deeper meanings if we choose to see them through a humorous lens. Picture yourself at the grocery store, caught in a surreal battle with a shopping cart that seems to have a mind of its own. The absurdity lies not just in your grumbling against a stubborn piece of metal. Rather, it mirrors our struggles with the uncontrollable aspects of life. It brings to mind the realization that much of what we stress over is as trivial as a grocery cart veering off course. Similarly, the sight of people intensely arguing over the last item on a shelf is a glimpse into human nature, our inherent competitiveness and sometimes irrational behavior triggered by seemingly petty stakes. When we laugh at these moments, we begin to unravel the threads of our own quirks and foibles, learning to embrace our imperfections and the eccentricities of those around us. Ultimately, life's absurdities serve as a reminder not to take ourselves too seriously. In moments of irritation or frustration, we can choose to pause and reflect on the inherent hilarity of our situations, cultivating a mindset of gratitude and humor. The next time you find yourself in an absurd scenario, whether it's a missed bus that leads you to a chance encounter or spilling coffee on your shirt just before a big meeting, ask yourself what truth might be lurking in that inconvenience. Often, the answers may be more enlightening than you first imagined. By unpacking the absurd, we gain not just laughter but also insightful perspectives on our paths, nudging us closer to understanding the beautiful mess that is life. Embrace the absurdities and let them guide you toward the laughter and wisdom woven into your everyday experience. Humor has a remarkable ability to change our perspective, lighten the heaviest of burdens, and turn our most challenging moments into something we can laugh about. It's like life's secret ingredient, effortlessly elevating mundane situations into sources of joy. Think about it. Whether it's a joke shared among friends or a funny meme that sneaks into your social media feed at just the right moment, laughter has a way of connecting us all. It serves as a universal language that transcends age, culture, and circumstance. When we laugh, our stress levels drop, our moods improve, and suddenly the hurdles in front of us seem less daunting. This doesn't mean we should ignore our troubles. Rather, humor helps us navigate through them, providing a reprieve and a healthier way to cope with life's inevitable ups and downs. We often find that humor can turn a mundane Tuesday into a memorable adventure, reminding us that joy can be found even amidst chaos. As we embark on this journey together, I invite you to embrace the magic of humor to explore the quirks of life, one laugh at a time. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic, late for an appointment, and frustration starts bubbling over, but then you remember a silly joke your friend told. Just like that, your simmering impatience transforms into a chuckle, and you find yourself enjoying the absurdity of the situation. This book encourages you to identify those moments where laughter can lighten your load and make life's challenges feel a little less overwhelming. When we choose to see the funny side of things, we not only enhance our own experience, but we also create connections with those around us. It's the shared laughter that stitches us together, revealing the beauty underneath our everyday struggles. With each chapter, we'll dive deeper into real-life examples of humor as a tool for resilience, connection, and ultimately, understanding the human condition. I'll share stories, reflections, and insights that will resonate with your own experiences, encouraging you to explore how laughter can become a guiding force in your life. So, keep an open heart and an open mind. You may find that embracing the whimsical aspects of life and sharing genuine laughter not only enriches your own journey, but also sparks joy in those around you. Remember, it's often the simple act of laughing together that leads to the most profound wisdom. Whenever life feels particularly tough, look for the humor. It might just be the key to unlocking a deeper sense of purpose and connection. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Control. Why humans crave control in an uncontrollable world. Every day, we navigate a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable. It's no wonder, then, that from a young age, we develop this innate desire for control. Think about it. We start asserting our independence as toddlers, insisting on dressing ourselves or choosing the snack we want. It feels like a mini revolt against the confusion of life. I might not be able to negotiate with the universe, but by golly, I can decide whether my peanut butter and jelly sandwich has the crusts cut off. This drive for control extends into adulthood, manifesting in all sorts of ways. We create schedules that, in theory, will create an order amidst the unpredictability, and we strategize every conceivable risk. It's almost laughable how we cling to this illusion, as if meticulously arranging our sock drawer will somehow shield us from life's impending chaos. Herein lies the irony. While we toil to grasp the reins of life, reality regularly sweeps us off our meticulously planned course. The universe has a knack for throwing curveballs, unexpected job losses, health scares, and the ever-mysterious problems of a 20-year-old car. We invest our time and energy into believing we hold the keys to our destinies, only to find ourselves standing at a crossroads we didn't even see coming. It's like baking a soufflé and realizing you forgot the eggs. What was meant to be a masterpiece ends up as a flat, sad pancake of a day. The unpredictability of life is relentless and all-consuming, yet we still act as if we can outsmart it. In moments of reflection, it's both hilarious and humbling to acknowledge how we dance with this contradiction, yearning for control while simultaneously being at the mercy of, well, life itself. So, how do we navigate this complex dance without losing our minds? Perhaps it starts with understanding that while we can't control life's unpredictability, we can control how we respond to it. Embracing flexibility can be a powerful tool. Consider it your metaphorical Swiss Army knife for life's dilemmas. When things go haywire, instead of wrestling with frustration, channel that energy into problem-solving or adjusting your expectations. Let humor be your companion on this journey. Remember, If you can't laugh at the absurdity of trying to corral an unruly universe, you might just end up pulling your hair out. Artfully ceding control may just be the key to navigating the uncharted waters of our chaotic lives. And perhaps, in the end, we'll find that the ride is far more exhilarating than the destination. Stories of plans gone hilariously awry. It often starts with a brilliant idea, one that seems foolproof, as robust as the plans penned out on a crisp notebook. Just a few weeks ago, fueled by an unreasonable burst of optimism, I decided to host a dinner party. My goal was to impress friends with culinary delights and sophisticated cocktail concoctions. I meticulously crafted a menu, studied cocktail recipes down to the molecular level, and created a timeline that would put NASA to shame. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, everything. From dropping the main dish on the floor to discovering mid-filleting that I was out of lemon, which I had sworn on my shopping list was definitely in the pantry, my high hopes morphed into a comical disaster before dessert could even be considered. As my guests arrived, serenaded by the sweet aroma of burnt lasagna, because who needs oven mitts? Laughter echoed through my apartment. Their faces were priceless, expressions of delight mixed with disbelief, as they helped me concoct makeshift snacks from pantry leftovers. Each failed attempt at gourmet cuisine became a punchline in a stand-up routine that only got funnier as the cocktails flowed. In the end, it was the unexpected detours that turned a potentially embarrassing night into a wonderful adventure full of laughter and camaraderie. Reflecting on that evening, the most important lesson became clear. Perfection is overrated, and sometimes what you think is a plan gone awry could be the highlight of your experience. Each hiccup unfolded new opportunities for creativity and laughter. I realized life rarely goes according to plan, and trying to control everything can lead to unnecessary stress. Instead, embracing the unpredictable nature of our endeavors can lead to the best stories. Here's the wisdom I gained. Embracing the absurd and letting go of the need for perfection can transform a straightforward gathering into an unforgettable experience. So the next time a plan spirals out of control, remember to laugh. After all, these are the moments that weave the fabric of our most cherished stories. In the grand tapestry of life, it's these moments of delightful chaos that teach us resilience and flexibility. When plans fall apart, they often lead us down paths we never anticipated, reminding us that spontaneity can be the spice of life. So keep that in mind when plotting your next grand scheme. Stock up on some flexible backup options, allow for changes, and find joy in the unexpected. Even the most outrageous night's stories can become lasting memories, filled with warmth and laughter. The next time you're tempted to overthink, remember, sometimes the best plan is not having a plan at all. The liberating realization: control is the ultimate cosmic punchline. It struck me like a cosmic joke when I finally understood that my desperate clinging to control was like trying to hold on to a handful of sand. The tighter I squeezed, the faster it slipped through my fingers, leaving me with nothing but the empty feeling of futility. Surrendering control felt, at first, like stepping off a cliff into oblivion. But in that freefall, I discovered buoyancy. Laughing at life's absurdity became my lifeline. The moment I loosened my grip, the universe began to reveal itself in ways I could never have orchestrated. With each misadventure, each failed plan, I found pockets of unexpected joy and laughter waiting just outside my rigid boundaries. It's funny how life seems to conspire to teach you lessons when you're busy making other plans. I realized that moments of surrender gave way to the purest form of freedom. Freedom to be, to laugh, to simply exist without the weight of expectation on my shoulders. Embracing life's unpredictability truly is the ultimate comedic experience. Imagine if every plot twist in a sitcom went exactly as predicted. There would be no punchlines, no cliffhangers, just monotony. Life, with its delightful chaos, offers us the most hilarious scripts. From missed flights to surprise rain showers when you've left your umbrella at home, these moments teach us to dance in the rain rather than complain about the downpour. When we fully accept that we are players in this grand theatrical production with no script, we become the best kind of improvisers. Each moment becomes rich with opportunity for laughter, as we realize we can adapt, pivot, and even turn our foibles into funny stories to share later. The unpredictable twists and turns of life should be seen as essential ingredients rather than inconveniences. When you start to laugh at the absurdity of your circumstances, those moments transform. They become delightful narratives rather than burdens. In the end, It's about finding humor in the chaos and learning to flow with the tide instead of fighting it. The practical wisdom here is simple. Let go of the reins every once in a while and just see what happens. When you relinquish control, you might discover that the universe has a better sense of humor than you do. So try it. Next time life throws you a curveball, lean into the unpredictability with a hearty chuckle, letting go of that tight grip and embrace the unfolding adventure. You'll find yourself liberated, laughing, and far more open to the joy lurking in each unexpected corner. Chapter 2: The Ego's Grand Performance. How the ego turns life into a melodrama starring me. Our ego has this spectacular talent for transforming even the most mundane events of everyday life into full-blown, Oscar-winning melodramas. You spill your coffee on your new shirt, and suddenly it's not just a shirt, but the catalyst for a life-altering crisis. As I stood there, the warm liquid soaking through my fabric, I could almost hear the dramatic music crescendoing in the background. Why? Because the ego insists that everything revolves around me and my incessant need for perfection and control. Each incident, particularly the ones that involve any semblance of embarrassment, gets amplified into a theatrical performance where I'm the tragic hero experiencing the most unfortunate misfortunes. It's almost laughable when you think about how our brains warp reality. We take a small mistake and spiral it into an entire narrative of failure and woe. This melodrama does not just entertain. It often produces a comedy of errors that leads to truly humorous misunderstandings. Take, for instance, the time I sent an email meant for my coworker to the whole office instead. While my ego initially wailed about what a colossal blunder I had made, the reality was far less dire. Rather than the choir of judgment I'd imagined, I received a wave of responses, each more chuckle-inducing than the last. "Glad to know I'm not the only one who thought you were going to win the office lottery," one friend said, while another chimed in with, "Let's all chip in for a celebratory coffee fund." Instead of facing the firing squad, I ended up becoming the unwitting star of a light-hearted roast. My ego had taken a tumble, but at the end of the day, the laughter united us all in a way that a mere mistake never could. Understanding this dynamic can shift our perspective from being the protagonist in our own unfortunate saga to simply being part of the ensemble cast of life's great comedy. If we embrace our ego's tendency to overdramatize, we can share a good laugh at our expense. A useful tip here is to practice stepping outside your ego's narrative when things go awry. Pause, take a breath, and look at the mishap through a humorous lens. Ask yourself, what's the funniest outcome of this situation? Embracing humor can transform a crisis into a moment of connection, reminding us that sometimes life is better when treated like a sitcom where everyone shares a few laughs along the way. Recognizing the absurdity of our self-importance. Every so often, I find myself caught up in the melodrama of life, convinced that my thoughts and actions are of monumental significance. It's almost laughable when I pause to consider how high we tend to inflate our importance. We bustle about, with our heads held high, as if the world is hanging on our every word. And yet, when I glance at the endless parade of humans navigating their own existential mazes, I can't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. Perhaps it's time to adopt a more humorous perspective on life. Imagine if we could visualize a 10-foot-tall balloon labeled me swaying in the wind, relieved of its tension with a gentle prick from the pin of reality. Suddenly, the attempt to take ourselves too seriously feels like a comedy routine waiting to unfold, as we laugh at our own inflated egos fumbling through the everyday. The heavy burdens we carry often make us forget that life is a shared stage, where everyone is both a player and an audience. It's refreshing to think of ourselves as part of this whimsical, chaotic dance. There are moments when a dash of humility can turn the mundane into masterpieces of laughter. Picture this. You're in a meeting, and the boss is delivering a riveting presentation about the company's future while the intern accidentally spills coffee on their suit. Instead of a gasp, a wave of chuckles rolls through the room, reminding us all that we're merely human, prone to blunders and less than polished appearances. How fantastic it is when someone trips over a metaphorical stone in the middle of an overly serious discussion, shattering the tension and allowing laughter to seep back into our exchanges. It's in those moments of shared humility that we grasp the beauty of being unrefined. These occurrences create a bond, as we realize we are not in separate boats fighting our own terminologies, but rather passengers laughing as the boat sails through waves of imperfections. It's a celebration of our quirks, a reminder that we are all in this unpredictable journey together. Thinking deeply about our exaggerated self-importance often leads to enlightenment. Laughter is the best gift we can give ourselves. It is essential not to forget that embracing our flaws, our less than glorious moments, makes life not only bearable but downright hilarious. Next time you feel the pressure of life piling on, remember a time when you laughed at your own missteps. Use that perspective as a tool to cut through the clutter of seriousness. When you find ways to soften your self-importance with a joke or a light-hearted take on reality, you empower yourself and those around you to join the dance. Life is unpredictable and far too absurd to approach with a rigid attitude. Allow laughter to be your guide and make room for those moments of delightful humility. Laughing at ourselves as a path to humility and growth. Self-deprecating humor, when used wisely, can act as a powerful teacher. It invites humility into our lives and teaches us to accept our imperfections. I remember a time when I failed spectacularly, failing in public, no less. While trying to show off my culinary skills, I inadvertently turned dinner into a disaster. Smoke billowed from the kitchen, and my guests were in stitches instead of savoring my famous paella. At that moment, I had a choice, to sulk or to laugh. I chose laughter, and what followed was a delightful evening filled with jokes about my apparent lack of cooking prowess. This experience solidified the notion that embracing our flaws can transform blunders into cherished memories. Somehow, admitting that I burnt dinner became a ticket to deeper connections, as others shared their own clumsy stories. Through laughter, we break down walls and reveal our humanity, which is often the first step towards personal growth. Vulnerability opens doors we never knew existed. When we allow ourselves to be a little ridiculous, we invite others in. I once attended a networking event wearing mismatched shoes. Unintentionally, of course. When I realized my fashion faux pas, I made a joke about starting a new trend, the lost sock look. To my surprise, this little quirk sparked a lively discussion. People approached me not just to comment on my eccentric style, but to share their own wardrobe blunders and bloopers. Through those shared chuckles, something beautiful happened. The atmosphere shifted from formal to friendly. We were no longer strangers navigating a sea of suits. We became a community of imperfect individuals, all giggling at how life's little hiccups can unite us. It's in our shared laughter that we discover the joy of connection and the resilience to tackle life's uncertainties. Finding humor in our flaws serves a dual purpose. It lightens our hearts and beckons others to join us on the journey of life. This doesn't mean we should feign weakness or undermine our value. Rather, it's about recognizing that nobody walks this path without tripping over their own feet now and then. Therefore, the next time you find yourself in a blunder, take a moment to breathe. Consider laughing at yourself. It's an instant recipe for humility and, more importantly, a gateway to authentic human connection. Embracing our own silliness can make us more relatable and approachable, inviting others to share their own life stories. So, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And when it gives you mismatched shoes, strut down the street and call it a fashion statement. Life is much too precious to take too seriously. Chapter 3. The Tragic Beauty of Being Human. Why we're wired to feel deeply, and how it often leads to ridiculous outcomes. Humans are fascinating creatures, intricately designed with an emotional wiring system that makes our experiences rich and colorful. This wiring doesn't just safeguard us, it opens doors to empathy, creativity, and connection with others. Have you ever felt that surge of joy when your friend accomplishes something? That's our brain's emotional architecture working in harmony. However, this same wiring can make us feel things so intensely that it often leads us down the garden path into ridiculous outcomes. We become tangled in our emotions, seeing everything through a hyperbolic lens. Instead of a light breeze, we feel like we're in a storm during minor inconveniences. Ask anyone who's faced a misplaced car key or a slightly delayed pizza delivery. Take, for instance, the day I lost my favorite jacket. Upon realizing it was gone, a sense of despair washed over me as if I'd lost my childhood pet. I combed through the house, retracing my steps like a detective on the brink of a breakthrough. My emotions spiraled. I recalled every precious moment spent in that jacket, convinced I could never replace the bond we shared. My roommate, bewildered by my antics, merely chuckled. It wasn't just a jacket to me. It represented comfort, warmth, the essence of my quirky style. The event was trivial, but in that moment, I felt as if I'd lost a piece of my identity. This is the duality of our emotional wiring, an innate ability to feel deeply, entwined with the potential for exaggerated reactions. We live in a world that allows for heightened emotional experiences, but how often do they veer into the absurd? The absurdity of emotions. Nothing showcases it better than the time I found myself sobbing while watching a fabric softener commercial. The ad featured a family joyfully reunited after a laundry mishap, and there I was, a puddle of tears, questioning every relationship in my life. My partner sidled up to me, trying and failing to suppress laughter. Is this really happening? As it turns out, I was merely experiencing a moment of connection facilitated by a few clever edits and the scent of fresh laundry. This is what happens when our feelings take over. In one moment, we can be touched by a sweet moment in an advertisement, and in the next feel utterly ridiculous for crying over a bottle of softener. Then there was the time I attended a friend's wedding. During the first dance, instead of feeling the expected joy, I found myself inexplicably absorbed in melancholic reflections about my own love life. As I drunkenly belted out a pop ballad in the middle of the dance floor, tears streaming down my face, I couldn't help but think about my past relationships. The combination of potent emotions and alcohol led to a scene that could probably be a low-budget rom-com. People whispered, laughter echoed, yet I stayed in my self-created emotional whirlwind. My absurd predicament was a testament to how deeply we're wired, managing to mix joy with sadness in a cocktail best served on the rocks, topped with a layer of ridiculousness. This emotional wiring can lead us to both profound realizations and utterly cringeworthy moments. Perhaps the best way to navigate this field of emotional chaos is to embrace the ridiculousness of it all. When life serves you absurdity, lean into those moments and allow yourself to laugh. After all, it's a hilariously intricate journey we're on together. Next time you find yourself stuck in an emotional debacle, remember that it's perfectly normal to feel deeply. Acknowledging those roller coaster emotions can be incredibly liberating. Instead of pushing them down, let yourself feel, and then, when appropriate, find a way to laugh at the absurdity. It's in the acceptance of these deep feelings that we often discover the true humor and wisdom of our shared humanity. The fine line between tragedy and comedy in everyday life. Every day is a kaleidoscope of emotions, where the mundane can morph into the extraordinary, and our daily struggles often blend tragic undertones with comedic overtones. Imagine stumbling on a mostly empty street, only to find a pigeon perched on a sign that reads, "Beware of falling objects." You laugh, because let's face it, that pigeon is living its best life, oblivious to the chaos around it. Yet there's an underlying tragedy. Why was that sign even put up? What had happened before to require such a warning? Life's events often carry a dual significance, like a coin flipped in the air, alternating between gleeful giggles and deep sighs. Just when we think something is outrageously ridiculous, the absurdity reveals a core truth we never expected. It's this unexpected intertwining that keeps us on our toes and makes life a spectacle of hilarity tinged with pathos. Reflecting on those moments of intersection, I recall a time when I was caught in the rain without an umbrella. Drenched and shivering, I huddled beneath a bus stop awning next to an elderly lady who was equally soaked. We exchanged glances, her eyes sparkling with mischief, and just like that, she began to hum a tune that could easily have been the theme song for unfortunate souls caught in the storm. Caught up in her infectious humor, I found myself laughing through my dripping hair as she dramatically argued with the weather, declaring it a betrayal of epic proportions. It was a tragic situation. No one enjoys being soaked in a sudden downpour, but the humor in our plight brought us together in shared misery. Such moments offer profound insights, reminding us that even in our darkest times, humor persists as a balm for the spirit. We learn that absurdity often cloaks profound truths, nudging us to confront the tragedy wrapped in laughter, and perhaps that's the beauty of existence. A practical tip for personal interactions. Let humor be your companion in tough situations. It can soften the blow of life's little tragedies and help you find light in the darkest corner. Finding joy in the messiness of being human. Life often feels like a chaotic tornado, swirling with unexpected turns and messy moments. But let's pause for a moment to celebrate this chaotic and imperfect nature. Embracing life's unpredictability can actually lead us to find humor and joy in the absurdity of our existence. Remember that time when you confidently strutted into a room, only to realize your shirt was inside out? Instead of feeling embarrassed, you could laugh at the sheer ridiculousness of it. It's these little blunders that add spice to our everyday life, transforming mundane routines into stories worth telling. The truly funny moments are like little gems scattered throughout our day, waiting for us to pick them up and cherish them. By allowing ourselves to find humor in these instances, we create a delicious mix of joy and laughter that enhances our human experience. And then there are our flaws and quirks, those delightful idiosyncrasies that make us uniquely human. We often try to smooth out the rough edges, hiding the things that make us different. But what if we chose to embrace them instead? Our awkward dance moves, our weird obsession with collecting spoons, or our tendency to mix up names can be celebrated as the beautiful facets of our character. Accepting our imperfections invites a sense of authenticity that is refreshing. The world doesn't need more polished, perfect beings. It thrives on realness. This belief can lead us to be kinder to ourselves. After all, who wants to be friends with someone who is so rigid they can't have a few laughs at their own expense? Embracing the quirky tapestry of our lives can create connections that are genuinely fulfilling, as we find shared jokes in the messiness of our own experiences. Now, here's a practical tip to help you navigate this beautifully messy life. Keep a joy journal. Every day, jot down one embarrassing moment, one flaw, or one hilarious mishap that made you giggle, no matter how small. Over time, this practice will help you see your life not as a series of mistakes, but as a delightful collection of moments that tell the story of who you are. In celebrating the beautiful chaos of existence, we can find joy, laughter, and perhaps even a touch of wisdom stitched into the fabric of our wonderfully imperfect lives. Chapter 4: The Science of Humor. How laughter impacts the brain, body, and soul. Scientific studies show that laughter isn't just an enjoyable experience. It boasts a treasure trove of physiological benefits. When we laugh, our brains release a delightful cocktail of chemicals, including endorphins, which are nature's way of giving us a happy high. This rush creates feelings of joy and euphoria, but there's more. Laughter also reduces levels of stress hormones like cortisol, leaving us feeling more relaxed and ready to tackle whatever comes our way. It's almost as if our bodies are wired for comedy. Muscles relax, heart rate stabilizes, and blood pressure drops, giving us a mini workout. Seriously, laughter can burn calories. Not just the sound of me cackling at my own terrible jokes, but real calories. Think of it as a core engagement that doesn't require an overpriced gym membership. On top of making us feel good physically, laughter is a social glue that can enrich our emotional lives. Picture this. You're in a room full of people, and suddenly someone cracks a joke. The initial chuckle ripples through the crowd, igniting a wave of camaraderie. It's in those shared moments of laughter that bonds are formed, friendships blossom, and sometimes even enemies become partners in crime. Well, the playful kind, of course. Humor allows us to navigate the choppy waters of human interaction, lightening the mood and disarming tension. After all, it's hard to hold a grudge when the person on the other end is making you laugh until you snort. Laughter is a universal language, uniting us all in the delightful absurdity of life. Embracing laughter isn't merely a biological, but also a soulful endeavor. It reminds us not to take ourselves too seriously. The next time you find yourself in a tight situation, sprinkle a little humor on it. Maybe you'll trip over your own feet. Let out a good laugh instead of feeling embarrassed. It's practical wisdom that invites perspective, encouraging you to view life through a lens of joy rather than worry. Keep a list of your top 10 funniest moments or a collection of your go-to comedy movies. When the weight of the world feels heavy, revisit those moments to elevate your spirits. In the great comedic tapestry of life, a good laugh is truly the thread that holds us together. Why humor is a universal survival tool. Throughout history, humor has been like that old, reliable friend who shows up just when you need them the most. You can trace it back to the days of cavemen who, after a long day of dodging saber-toothed tigers, probably shared a laugh about how their buddy tripped over a rock while trying to hunt. It's clear that in the face of hardships, laughter has served as a coping mechanism across cultures and times. From the ancient Greeks who filled their theaters with comedic plays to the satirical quips of Shakespeare, humor has always found a way to shine even in the darkest times. It reminds us that life can be absurd, and that sometimes the best response to our troubles is a hearty chuckle. Different cultures may have their unique styles of humor, but the essence remains the same. It's a tool to navigate the messy, often tragic elements of existence. Consider the stories from World War II. where soldiers often relied on humor to deal with the fear of battle and the grim realities of war. Soldiers would create ridiculous songs, poking fun at the chaos that surrounded them, helping to lighten the unbearable load of uncertainty. In concentration camps, where hope seemed a distant memory, inmates would share jokes as a form of resistance against their oppressors, proving that the human spirit can find delight even in the bleakest circumstances. These examples illustrate that humor is not merely a distraction. It serves as a crucial lifeline, enabling individuals to endure what might otherwise be insurmountable challenges. It's a reminder that even in hardship, there is space for laughter, and finding joy can be a radical act of survival. The beauty of humor lies in its remarkable ability to forge connections among people. Sharing a laugh can break down barriers and transform a shared moment of agony into one of camaraderie. During tough times, like getting caught in a downpour without an umbrella or accidentally stepping in something unpleasant while wearing white shoes, those moments of hilarity can bring people together, creating bonds that are often stronger than the challenges they face. So, the next time you find yourself in a tough spot, don't shy away from finding the absurdity in the situation. Instead, embrace it. Share a laugh with that random stranger in line at the grocery store when the cashier accidentally scans the same item twice. Remember, humor isn't just a survival tool. It's also a source of connection that can carry us through. For practical wisdom, whenever you're stuck in a tough situation, look for the humor. It might just be your best ally. Stories of people finding humor in the darkest moments. One time, I sat across from a friend who had just gone through a tough breakup. The heartbreak was palpable, a heavy cloud hanging over the coffee shop. I was about to offer my standard support. "He's not worth it. Let's binge-watch terrible movies." When my friend laughed out loud, a real belly laugh that surprised us both. I put him through imaginary "What are you doing with your life?" interviews, she said. He flunked every question. In that moment, amidst the shadows of her sorrow, she found a beam of light. She shared stories filled with exaggerated scenarios of what the guy was doing while she'd been crying over ice cream. She recounted how he had eaten a week's worth of leftovers from the back of his fridge without any remorse and not gotten up from his couch for hours. That laughter turned an ugly heartache into a connection point where we could both chuckle and nod at the absurdity of life. It's fascinating how pain can morph into a source of genuine laughter, creating an unexpected intimacy among friends in their darkest moments. This experience made me reflect on the power of humor. It's like a flashlight in a dark room. It illuminates the corners we're too afraid to enter. Not only does it make the unbearable bearable, but it also allows us to invite others into our chaos, forging bonds through shared laughter. One of the finest examples of this is the story of a stand-up comedian whose father passed away, leaving him devastated yet determined to turn that anguish into a performance. On stage, he cracked jokes about family gatherings, absurdities encountered in grief, and even his father's obsession with collecting weird spoons. It wasn't just about humor. It was a healing act that resonated deeply with the audience, reminding us that we can find joy even in loss. They laughed with him, each chuckle creating a thread of connection woven through the shared understanding of life's unpredictability. The next time life throws a curveball wrapped in a dark cloud, consider leaning into humor. Embrace the silliness that often arises in grim situations. Start telling those ridiculous stories that might not make sense at first glance, but can draw laughter and connections when you least expect it. When pain starts to talk, reply with jokes. Let laughter be the antidote. It's free and wildly contagious. When you share a laugh, it multiplies, and somehow, that laughter manages to light the way through even the deepest shadows. Chapter 5: The Healing Power of Absurdity. How embracing life's absurdities helps us cope with pain and uncertainty. Accepting life's inherent absurdity opens up a pathway to emotional resilience that we often overlook, like a secret door in a familiar hallway. When we acknowledge that life can be ludicrous and chaotic, our perspective shifts. It's like watching a slapstick comedy where the characters stumble around, and instead of feeling frustrated at their misfortune, we can laugh along with them. This shift in perception allows us to take a step back from our problems and view them through a comedic lens rather than drowning in overwhelming emotions. Imagine the relief of stepping onto the stage of your own life, filled with its unexpected twists and turns, and simply giggling at the absurdity instead of trying to fix every single mistake. When we embrace these quirks of existence, We arm ourselves with a kind of resilience that diminishes the weight of pain and uncertainty, transforming them into manageable quirks rather than insurmountable obstacles. To tackle challenges with humor, we need a toolkit that reframes our mindset into one that appreciates the absurd. Let's consider the classic technique of sarcasm, which is essentially life's way of saying, "Seriously? Is this what we're doing?" When you're stuck in a traffic jam and your car has decided it's the perfect time to overheat, try imagining that the universe is testing your patience for a comedy sketch. If laughter truly is the best medicine, then let's prescribe ourselves some witty banter or an internal monologue that mirrors a stand-up routine. Picture the absurdity of adulting. We juggle bills, responsibilities, and deadlines while still forgetting where we placed our keys. If we can laugh at the ridiculousness of these situations, we instantly lighten our emotional load. Humor can transform daunting challenges into funny anecdotes that we share later, creating connection and reminding us that we're not alone in this bizarre human experience. As we navigate through life's absurdities, it's crucial to remember that embracing this unpredictability does not mean we disregard our feelings or challenges. Instead, we're finding a balance by welcoming laughter into our narratives. Treat life's messes like improvisational theater, where anything can happen and it's all about the performance. One practical approach to practicing this is to keep a journal where you jot down instances of daily absurdity, no matter how small, and your humorous interpretations of them. This practice doesn't just provide a release, but also helps you view your life as a series of comedic vignettes rather than a tragedy. With each entry, you cultivate resilience not just against pain and uncertainty, but in those moments, laughter becomes a companion, showing us the way through even the heaviest of storms. Finding humor in loss, failure, and heartbreak. Seeking laughter in the midst of personal loss is like looking for a silver lining on the darkest clouds. When we experience loss, our instinct is often to retreat into somber silence. Yet, even in our heart-wrenching moments, humor can emerge like an unexpected guest at a funeral, lightening the mood in the most peculiar way. I've found that sharing a laugh, even at life's most tragic junctures, can serve as a balm to our aching hearts. After my grandmother passed away, I was devastated, but at her wake, the stories about her cooking mishaps made us roar with laughter. Memories that could have drenched us in sorrow instead allowed us to celebrate her vibrant, albeit chaotic, spirit. It's the beauty of shared laughter, like a secret handshake that brings us together through collective healing. Then there are those heartbreak stories that start out in despair, but twist into something utterly hilarious. I once dated a guy who was so obsessed with his pet tarantula that I began to suspect he just wanted me for my inadequate spider handling skills. When he abruptly broke up with me to focus on his true love, a fluffy eight-legged companion named Mr. Snuggles, I felt terrible. But as the tears dried, I found an unintentional comedic narrative in my life. I posted a heartfelt farewell to my relationship on social media, only for my friends to flood my feed with memes of heartbroken spiders dressed as humans, all clamoring for love. The absurdity turned into a roaring laughter fest, reminding me that heartbreak doesn't have to remain a solemn affair. The unexpected joy we stumble upon in the aftermath of emotional train wrecks can be liberating. It shifts our perspective and allows us to embrace silliness during tough times. Life is really about how we choose to cope with the inevitable losses and heartbreaks. Rather than letting sadness lock us in a dark room, why not crack a joke, share a funny memory, or indulge in a good laugh? Every setback has its quirks, and if we keep our eyes peeled, we might just find a humorous nugget tucked away, waiting to be unearthed. Healing doesn't have to be serious business. A little laughter can go a long way. So, the next time you find yourself swimming in sorrow, remember that a good giggle can turn the tide. Think of it as emotional first aid. It can't fix everything, but it's often just what the doctor ordered. Real-life examples of laughter as a bridge to healing. Life has a funny way of making us laugh, even when we really shouldn't. I remember a friend of mine, Lisa, who found herself in the hospital for an unexpected surgery. The anxiety was palpable, hovering over her like a rain cloud. But just days before her operation, she found herself chuckling at the absurdity of the hospital's vegetarian meatloaf, special on the menu. "If I have to eat this, I might as well make it my last meal," she joked to the nurses, who couldn't help but laugh along. That moment, where laughter burst through the tension, felt like a tiny lifeboat on a choppy sea. Lisa told me later that it was that shared laughter, in a sterile room filled with worry and 4 drips, that made her feel connected to life outside the hospital environment. It provided a sliver of light, a reminder that humor could coexist with fear and uncertainty. Then there's the story of Tom, who was knee-deep in treatment for his battle with cancer. He had a routine with his medical team that was laced with humor. One day, while discussing his medication, he casually remarked, "If I have to take one more pill, I'm going to start charging rent to my stomach." His straightforward wit not only lightened his spirits, but also uplifted the mood of the entire ward. Laughter had become part of his armor against the weight of his illness. The nurses began to look forward to his visits, using his playful banter as a catalyst for resilience. Tom's ability to find humor in the midst of adversity was not just a distraction. It became part of his healing journey, proving that laughter can bridge the gap between despair and hope. Shared laughter has a remarkable ability to stitch people together during difficult moments. Think about it. The world can feel awfully isolating when facing trials, but a good chuckle can break down walls. I recall a community support group where individuals shared their experiences with loss. At first, the mood was somber, thick with shared grief. But then someone cracked a joke about how the afterlife could use better public relations. Suddenly, the floodgates opened. Laughter erupted, bouncing from one person to another, transforming the space. It was a powerful reminder that, even in our darkest moments, we are not alone. It's that unifying power of humor that helps us step back, breathe, and make sense of the chaos. Chapter 6. The Art of Not Taking Things Personally. Why everything feels personal, and why it's not. Every day, we navigate a world filled with interactions that can feel oddly personal. You know the drill. Someone cuts you off in traffic, your coworker doesn't smile at you in the break room, or a friend forgets your birthday. Suddenly, our minds start worrying with thoughts like, "Why are they out to get me?" Or "What did I do to deserve this?" It's almost comical how quickly our brains can jump to conclusions, turning mundane events into epic dramas. This personalized spin on daily occurrences is a classic case of our perceptions running amok. We create narratives about ourselves based on fleeting moments, interpreting the world through the lens of our own emotions and experiences. Sometimes it's our mood, sometimes it's our insecurities, but either way, the result is an exaggerated sense of significance that makes everything feel like a direct insult. The truth is, while we may feel like the universe has conspired against us, most people are merely moving through life without any ulterior motives aimed at us. They are too busy managing their worlds to orchestrate our downfall. It's enlightening to recognize that external factors often drive these skewed perceptions. Picture this: a coworker snaps at you for an email that, to you, seemed perfectly polite. What if they were up all night with a sick child? Or maybe they just received the news that their project is in jeopardy. These external stressors can shape our interactions, making it less about us and more about the chaos swirling around others. Context is everything, and while it's human to take things personally, stepping back to recognize the hidden battles people are facing can be liberating. Instead of diving headfirst into a pool of self-pity, we can allow ourselves the grace to consider other perspectives. It creates room for forgiveness and understanding, and suddenly, we might find that the world is less of a hostile place and more of a crowded space where everyone is just trying to figure it all out. This shift in perspective isn't just a nice idea. It's practical wisdom that can change how we interact with the world. Next time someone seems distant or curt, remember that their behavior may have nothing to do with you. It becomes an invitation to respond with empathy rather than defensiveness. Humor helps, too. Picture that coworker with their stress balls instead of smashing the keyboard. It's easier to find the funny side of a situation when you see the humanity behind it. We all need a little grace, both for ourselves and others. So, the next time the world feels like a personal attack, give yourself a moment and ask, what else could be going on? Because maybe, just maybe, the universe isn't so personal after all. And hey, if nothing else, you've gained a hilarious story to share over drinks. How humor can disarm the ego and diffuse conflict. Humor has often served as a secret weapon in resolving conflicts, functioning as a bridge between two opposing sides. Imagine sitting in a tense negotiation room where the air is thick with disagreement. Suddenly, someone cracks a joke about the absurdity of the situation. Laughter erupts, not just breaking the ice but dissipating the tension like a cool breeze dispersing a summer storm. I remember a colleague of mine who had a knack for turning a heated moment into a hilarious anecdote about his last family vacation gone wrong. The shared laughter became an unexpected connection point, reminding us all that we are merely human, prone to faults and funny mishaps. This moment not only eased the conflict, but also fostered a camaraderie that led to mutual concessions. Another unforgettable example comes from the world of politics, where humor often takes center stage. During a particularly fierce debate, a politician might lighten the mood by referencing an amusing childhood story, instantly drawing laughter from the crowd, regardless of their political alignment. This lightheartedness can disarm critics and transform a combative atmosphere into one of shared human experience. We all love a good story, especially when it's told with a quirky twist. Humor becomes a tool to remind us that we share a common humanity amidst our differences, creating pathways toward resolution. Understanding how to weave humor into conflict resolution takes a bit of practice, but pays off immensely. One effective technique is to use self-deprecating humor. This involves poking fun at oneself instead of others. For instance, during a misunderstanding at work, instead of blaming a colleague for a missed deadline, I once joked about my own inability to keep my calendar organized. Not only did it diffuse the frustration, but it also prompted my team to laugh and share their own organizational faux pas. The realization that we all stumble at times served to lighten the mood significantly. Another approach is to find humor in the situation itself rather than in the people involved. If two friends are bickering over something trivial, an offhand comment about how their conflict could be worthy of a daytime soap opera might do the trick. By framing their disagreement as part of a larger, ridiculous narrative, it compels both parties to see the absurdity of their squabble, breaking down the walls of ego. Remember, the secret ingredient is timing. Offering humor too soon can backfire, while waiting for just the right moment can transform a sour discussion into a belly laugh. Knowing when to insert that witty comment is a skill that will serve you well in both personal and professional realms. So, the next time you find yourself in a prickly situation, try sprinkling a little humor on it. It's often the simplest laughs that lead to the most profound connections. Practical exercises to cultivate lightheartedness in the face of criticism. Humor can be a powerful tool when facing criticism, and what better way to cultivate it than through engaging activities? Imagine hosting a critique comedy night with friends, where everyone takes turns sharing a piece of feedback they received, followed by a lighthearted, humorous interpretation of it. Maybe that compliment about your shoes can be spun into a skit about how they could probably walk themselves out the door. By taking a humorous approach to feedback, we invite laughter into a space that could feel tense, transforming potentially hurtful comments into moments of joy and silliness. Another fun exercise is creating a criticism playlist where you gather songs that make you laugh or feel light, playing them each time you receive feedback. Singing along to a bouncy tune can shift your mindset and help you defuse the sting of critique. Incorporating humor doesn't have to be reserved for group activities. You can start a personal critique journal where you record comments you receive and add your humorous response or a witty retort. This might be as simple as a doodle or a comic strip that represents your reaction. When you revisit these entries later, you'll marvel at how silly some of those critiques seemed in hindsight, and this practice fosters resilience. Engage your inner comedian. Turn your feedback into a stand-up routine in the shower. The absurdity of it all will help you embrace the lighter side of life and develop a greater sense of humor towards feedback over time. Integrating humor into daily conversations can be your secret weapon against defensiveness. One of the cleverest tactics is self-deprecating humor. When you poke fun at yourself, it creates an understanding atmosphere. For instance, if a colleague criticizes your presentation style, a lighthearted remark like, "Well, I've been practicing my interpretive dance moves for next time," maybe that will distract the audience. Not only shows you can take a joke, but it also eases tension and opens up a dialogue. This little twist holds a mirror to our own imperfections, making it easier for others to share their feedback without feeling like they're walking on eggshells. Additionally, becoming a connoisseur of funny anecdotes can enrich your interactions. Share humorous stories from your past when you've faced criticism and stumbled, perhaps turning a job interview disaster into a comedic tale. Such narratives not only entertain, but also create a relatable bond with others. A playful jab here and there, expressing faux outrage at harmless critiques, adds a layer of joy that ripples through relationships. And remember, laughter is contagious. When you approach criticism with a smirk or chuckle, it encourages those around you to loosen up as well. Try it next time someone offers you feedback. Raise an eyebrow and shoot back a witty comment. You might just find that cultivating lightheartedness not only improves your responses to criticism, but enhances your connections with others. As an actionable tip, practice reframing criticism to see the humor in it. The next time someone mentions something you could improve, think of a playful spin on it before reacting. Imagining how it would sound if delivered with a comedic twist can help you laugh rather than cringe. Chapter 7. Life as a Cosmic Joke. How philosophers, mystics, and comedians have framed existence as an elaborate joke. Philosophers throughout history have grappled with the chaos of existence, often landing on the absurdity of it all. Take Albert Camus, for instance, who famously suggested that life is a struggle against the absurd. In his world, the universe is indifferent to our desires and dreams, yet it is this very absurdity that offers us freedom. By embracing the notion that life might be a cosmic joke, we can find a certain liberation in the chaos. It reminds me of that classic image of a person standing in a downpour, drenched yet laughing, because they finally understand that the storm is part of the joke. Similarly, existentialists like Sartre claimed that we create meaning in a meaningless world. Life is absurd, but what matters is how we respond to that absurdity. It's a theme echoed by mystics, too, who often regard life as a playful flicker, a divine comedy where we are both jesters and spectators in the grand theater of the cosmos. Humor illustrates the absurdity of existence brilliantly. Comedians have a unique way of turning existential crises into punchlines. Think about the late George Carlin, who cleverly noted that the planet is fine. The people are fact. His sharp wit highlights our follies while simultaneously making us laugh at them. There's a truth in comedy that can cut deeper than philosophy. It can pierce through our pretenses and lay bare the ridiculousness of our struggles. Then there's the endless well of humor offered by Mitch Hedberg, who said, "I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too." This nods at the absurdity of life choices, allowing us to chuckle at the very struggle we endure. Comedians shine a light on the ironies that pepper our lives, transforming moments of despair into laughter. They reveal that regardless of the weight we feel from existence, it often boils down to finding humor even in the gravest situations. Philosophers and comedians alike illuminate the idea that life is a wonderfully orchestrated farce. This perspective can serve as a practical tool in our daily lives. Whenever you find yourself in a bind, remember to step back, take a deep breath, and look for the absurdity of the situation. Whether it's traffic jams, a miscommunication, or those daily calamitous hiccups, approaching them with a sense of humor can bring a refreshing perspective. After all, laughing at life's absurdity doesn't diminish the seriousness of our experiences. Instead, it enriches them, allowing us to cope better with the unpredictable twists and turns that define our existence. Why embracing the absurdity of life leads to wisdom. Life has an uncanny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. Just when you think you've got everything figured out, you step on a banana peel of your own making. Rather than fight this inherent absurdity, embracing it can be one of the wisest decisions you'll ever make. Laughing at life's unpredictability allows us to cultivate a mindset that is both resilient and flexible. When we accept that the universe operates on its own chaotic terms, we can stop wasting energy on trying to control the uncontrollable. There's a beauty in absurdity that fosters creativity. When we view our circumstances through a lens that welcomes the strange and the unexpected, our problem-solving skills are enhanced. It's as if we become willing partners in a dance with chaos. The more we laugh at the oddities life presents, the more we tap into an imagination that sees opportunities where others see obstacles. Life's unpredictability becomes a sandbox for exploration rather than a source of frustration. Some of my best lessons have come wrapped in the most absurd packages. I recall a time I forgot my own birthday. Yes, it happened. Friends gathered to surprise me, and there I was blissfully unaware, accidentally bumping into the celebrations half an hour late, still chewing on my lunch. Instead of horror, I felt an overwhelming wave of laughter. That moment turned into a reminder that sometimes the universe has a sense of humor that even I, with my impeccable timing, can't control. With each absurd experience, I found myself gaining wisdom that feels deeper than any textbook lesson. Embracing the absurd often leads to revelations about what truly matters. It teaches us to appreciate the small things, like laughter shared with friends or the warmth of a sunny day after a downpour. By letting go of expectations and embracing unpredictability, I learned to navigate life's tricky waters with grace and a grin. Understanding that life is a series of absurd moments that can either deflate us or elevate us has been a game changer. Ultimately, if we approach life with a hearty laugh and an open mind, we create space for growth, understanding, and real connections. As we embrace absurdity, we find that wisdom isn't just an end goal. It's the delightful journey we embark upon, filled with unexpected turns that remind us to enjoy the ride. One practical tip: keep a journal of absurd moments in your life. Reflecting on these can transform your perspective and reveal hidden gems of wisdom that you might otherwise overlook. Stories that illustrate the humor in life's unpredictability. Life has a way of throwing us curveballs, and those curveballs often contain the very best punchlines. I remember a time when I confidently strutted into a crowded cafe, ready to order my usual mocha latte. I was feeling great until I took that first sip, only to discover that they had mistakenly given me a triple espresso. The jolt felt like I had just been hit by a lightning bolt, and I nearly dropped my phone trying to keep my cool. Of course, instead of panicking, I decided to embrace the chaos. I ended up engaging in a hilarious conversation with the barista who was trying desperately to swap out my drink for the correct one, only to realize that I had already downed half of it. We laughed as I attempted to explain how my heart was racing and my thoughts were blasting off like fireworks, making me feel like I had a one-way ticket to the moon. That day, instead of a simple cafe visit, I walked away not just with a story to tell, but an unexpected friendship. Learning to see the humor in life's unpredictability can turn even the toughest moments into belly laughs. Each twist and turn often contains hidden gems of wisdom wrapped in laughter. It reminds me of a time when I was overly prepared for a big presentation at work. I had practiced for weeks and felt ready for anything, until I discovered that my pristine slide deck had been replaced with a collection of cat memes. My heart raced, but rather than spiraling into embarrassment, I decided to roll with it. I let the audience in on the mishap, turning the entire presentation into a playful exploration of how cats might approach our business strategy. It was a hit. Laughter filled the room, fostering a connection with my colleagues that the content alone couldn't have sparked. Each unexpected moment is like a punchline just waiting to be discovered. It's a reminder that the real story often lies in how we react to life's unpredictable scripts. Finding humor in our daily lives is not just about the laughter we share, but also about the insights we gain along the way. When you face an unexpected situation, pause for a moment before reacting. Ask yourself, what makes this funny? Or, how can I turn this into a story? That shift in perspective allows you to navigate life with a lighter heart and a sharper wit. Embrace the comical chaos of life. It's those moments that truly enrich our spirits. Chapter 8. Seeing Through the Drama. How to spot the comedy in the chaos. Life has a funny way of throwing us into the deep end, doesn't it? It's as though chaos has a favorite pastime, waiting for us to get really comfortable, only to send a surprise tidal wave of challenges crashing down. Yet, within those sometimes overwhelming moments, there exists an unexpected source of delight: humor. Identifying comedic nuggets amidst turmoil can feel like finding a needle in a haystack, but more often than not, those needles are embedded in the fabric of our wild experiences. For starters, it helps to shift the lens through which we view our chaos. When faced with a disaster, take a step back and give yourself permission to observe the absurdity instead of letting it drag you down. Imagine you're a spectator at a ridiculous play rather than a hapless actor starring in it. Finding humor often comes down to recognizing the quirks and oddities in our situation. Was your morning commute derailed by an unexpected downpour that turned into a mini swimming pool on Main Street? Picture your car floating gently down the road as you're wishing you had packed a snorkel instead of an umbrella. Or recall those times when technology has conspired against you. A video call freezing just as you're about to make your grand point, or that moment when you accidentally set a filter that turns your face into a potato. Such moments, rife with their comical twists, are ours to embrace. In doing so, we allow laughter to emerge from the rubble, which can lighten the load of our heavy hearts, even if it's just for a moment. There are countless stories of people transforming their most chaotic moments into sparkling bits of comedy. Take, for instance, my friend Sam, who found himself knee-deep in a family reunion gone awry, with relatives colliding in mishap after mishap, Uncle Al getting his foot stuck in a lawn chair, and Aunt Greta attempting to demonstrate her famous dance moves only to trip over the dog. they faced a potential disaster. Instead of panicking or getting frustrated, Sam stood up, took a dramatic pause, and shouted, "And that's why we don't perform live." The room erupted in laughter, and suddenly it wasn't about the chaos. It was about the connection and levity that bubbled up amidst the madness. Next time chaos descends, train your inner comedian to spot the punchline lurking in the mayhem. Allow yourself the freedom to laugh at the hiccups, the stumbles, and the unexpected turns life tends to take. Embracing the lighter side can foster resilience, turning not-so-great moments into something that can make you chuckle long after the storm has passed. Learning to laugh at life's unanswerable questions. Humor has an uncanny ability to comfort us in the face of life's great mysteries and uncertainties. When we encounter those baffling questions that linger above us, like why socks seem to vanish in the dryer, or why we suddenly forget the name of that one person we know we've known forever, laughter becomes our guide. It allows us to step back, take a deep breath, and realize that perhaps not all answers are meant to be found. Embracing humor means accepting the absurdity of certain situations and finding joy in the unknown. Instead of stressing over unanswered questions, we can choose to chuckle at our own confusion. Life, after all, is a messy collection of unpredictable moments, and humor helps us navigate these pitfalls without losing our sanity. In one of my more absurd moments, I found myself deeply perplexed as I stared into my fridge, contemplating why it was always empty when I really needed a snack. I thought about the mysteries of the universe, and suddenly, I wondered if there was a parallel universe where mayonnaise jars never expired and pizza always had just the right amount of cheese. Instead of sighing in defeat, I burst out laughing at my own preposterous musings. I could almost picture a space dimension where people governed the fridge society, battling against the sinister forces of overripe fruits and rogue condiment bottles. Sharing these moments of insanity with friends often turns a mundane experience into a hilarious recounting, elevating our frustrations into laughter and turning them into fond memories rather than burdens. After all, what's life without a little humor sprinkled throughout our daily perplexities? When we laugh at our confusion over life's biggest questions, we realize we're not alone. Everyone has faced those moments that leave us utterly dumbfounded. Like when you sit in a meeting and someone asks, "What is the meaning of life?" And you suddenly wonder if it's really just about finding the perfect blend of breakfast cereal. The beauty lies in the shared experience. Everyone in that room, with a variety of quirks and contemplations, is probably thinking the same thing. The ability to share a laugh over the absurdity of those questions not only lightens the mood, but reinforces our connections with one another. So when life throws you those mind-bending mysteries, step back, share a laugh, and remind yourself, sometimes it's not about finding the answer, but about enjoying the ride together, preferably with a bowl of cereal in hand. The peace that comes from seeing life as a playful dance, not a serious game. Life often feels like a never-ending series of chess matches, each piece a challenge that demands strategy, seriousness, and an impressive amount of caffeine. But what if we switched gears? What if, instead of a game that requires seriousness and precision, we embraced a playful dance? Adopting a light-hearted approach to life's challenges can be the breath of fresh air we didn't know we needed. When we stop taking ourselves too seriously, suddenly those daunting hurdles look more like inflatable bouncy castles. It's amazing how laughter can transform stress into joy, allowing us to navigate difficulties with a sense of grace and fluidity. Imagine facing a minor setback, like a spilled coffee all over your favorite shirt. The typical response might be frustration, but what if instead you stepped back and performed an exaggerated dance of despair, complete with flailing arms and a silly face? Not only would this evoke laughter from yourself and perhaps onlookers, but it also releases that built-up tension. This approach can be applied to significantly bigger challenges as well. Treating life's trials as whimsical hurdles instead of tragic pitfalls frees your mind and opens the door to creativity and out-of-the-box solutions. It's in this state of playful exploration where true innovation occurs. The burden of anxious seriousness melts away, and we discover that our struggles can actually be fun, fostering resilience and adaptability. Shifting our perspective from a serious mindset to a playful one is like trading a cramped office cubicle for a sunlit dance floor. There's a lightness that comes with embracing life's absurdities. Gone are the days of holding tightly to every little annoyance. Instead, we find ourselves chuckling at the absurdities that life throws our way. This fresh viewpoint doesn't just bring giggles, It cultivates an inner serenity that's hard to shake. When you recognize that life doesn't need to be perfect, joy seeps in through the cracks. It's as if you've taken an unintentional joyride on a roller coaster, where every twist and turn unveils a new adventure. Joy is contagious, much like laughter, and it has a way of lifting spirits not just within ourselves but in those around us. When you laugh at the little mishaps, you invite others to join in, creating a ripple effect of positivity. Serenity blooms when we realize that even in chaos, there exists beauty, a subtle dance that encapsulates the messiness of life yet encourages us to twirl with abandon. Practically speaking, engaging in playful activities or simply allowing yourself to be silly can greatly diminish the burdens of negativity. Whether it's a spontaneous living room dance party or sharing a funny story, nurturing a sense of play enables us to approach every opportunity with a smile and an open heart. To truly harness the magic of this light-hearted perspective, try incorporating a playful ritual into your daily routine, like starting the day with a goofy dance to your favorite song or finding a humorous comic strip to read. This little act can set the tone for your interactions and reframe challenges as part of the delightful dance of life. Chapter 9. Humor as a Path to Connection. How shared laughter deepens relationships and bridges divides. Humor is often the glue that binds us, transforming mundane moments into something magical. It has a unique ability to dissolve boundaries, turning strangers into friends and awkward gatherings into memorable events. Think about it. When we share a laugh, something wonderful happens. It's as if we've handed each other an invisible thread, weaving a tapestry of connection that can withstand the toughest of life's challenges. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, humor acts like sunshine breaking through clouds, brightening our interactions and allowing us to see each other and ourselves in a different light. When we find humor in shared experiences, we become part of a club, however informal it may be. It is an unspoken acknowledgement that we all stumble through life, often landing in hilarious predicaments. This shared understanding deepens our relationships, creating bonds that are often stronger than mere verbal communication could ever achieve. As we laugh, we also break down barriers, cultural, social, and emotional. We realize that at our core, we are not so different after all. We all have stories that are ripe for a chuckle. For instance, didn't you once try impressing someone and end up wearing spaghetti instead of simply serving it? Memories like that are the gold nuggets of human interaction. Let's take a trip down memory lane, a casual gathering of friends from different backgrounds. One friend starts telling a story about their childhood, filled with mishaps and absurdities. It's a quintessential experience of growing up, sprinkled with humor. As they recount every ridiculous moment, laughter ripples through the room, punctuating the narrative. In that laughter is a beautiful unity, where differences fade and common truths emerge. We all relate to embarrassing moments, regardless of where we come from, and that's the magic of shared laughter. It allows us to appreciate our quirks, leading us to a better understanding of each other's lives. In another instance, a community event brought together people from vastly different cultures. At first, the atmosphere felt a bit stiff, everyone unsure how to approach the elephant in the room, the difference in languages, customs, and fears. But then someone told a joke that translated universally. Suddenly, laughter erupted like popcorn in a microwave. It was contagious, breaking the ice and filling the space with warmth. Laughter transformed awkwardness into camaraderie, creating a safe haven for stories and anecdotes to flow freely. These kinds of shared moments demonstrate that laughter is not just a reaction. It is a bridge that connects hearts, mindsets, and cultures. No matter where you're from, shared laughter reminds us of our shared humanity. Next time you find yourself in a situation where conversation stalls or tension rises, remember that humor is a powerful tool. A well-placed joke or comic observation can lighten the mood and encourage others to join in the mirth. It's a reminder that despite our differences, we can always find common ground in laughter, a gift we can give and receive without reservation. So don't hesitate to sprinkle your interactions with humor. You never know whose day you might brighten or whose wall you might bring down. The role of humor in empathy, understanding, and conflict resolution. Humor can often feel like a magic wand in the sometimes murky waters of conflict. Picture this. You're in a heated discussion, perhaps the stakes are high, and the ambience is thick with tension. Suddenly, someone cracks a joke, and that thick ambience turns into a lighter, more breathable atmosphere. Humor has this unique ability to deflate egos, disarm hostility, and create a bridge between opposing views. When we laugh together, even if only for a moment, it's as if we collectively step out of our fixed positions and into a more playful realm of conversation. It's not that humor trivializes the issues at hand. Rather, it helps us to see the absurdity that can often underpin our disagreements. Take, for instance, that coworker who always insists on topping everyone's ideas with, let's call it imaginative flexibility. During a team meeting, instead of rolling eyes or mental sighs, a lighthearted quip about creative license can shift the mood, opening a pathway for discussions that invite collaboration instead of combativeness. Humor gives us a way to acknowledge the tension without letting it control the room, making it an invaluable tool for empathy and understanding. Let's dive into some real-life moments where humor turned potential disaster into delight. A classic example comes to mind from a family dinner gone awry. Picture a scenario where two relatives, each convinced they're the reigning champion of Thanksgiving mashed potatoes, begin to clash over the right way to prepare them. Tempers flare until Aunt Sophie, with a glint in her eye, interjects, "You both know the true secret ingredient is love, but just in case, I brought my extra butter." The joke doesn't just lighten the mood. It reminds everyone that it's not about the potatoes at all, it's about togetherness. With laughter, they're redirected from a food feud to celebrating the dinner, where the only dish that truly matters is harmony. Another instance can be found in more serious environments, such as workplace meetings where project deadlines are looming. I once watched a team leader humorously refer to the looming deadline as that beast we all try to tame, rather than something to be feared. The team exploded in laughter, easing the stress and allowing for a more productive brainstorming session. By putting a humorous spin on their challenge, this leader opened a door for everyone to express their concerns in a more relaxed way, leading to an even stronger team connection. These little moments of levity remind us that while we may be grappling with serious issues, we can still embrace shared laughter and humility, ultimately fostering understanding and empathy. Next time you find yourself amidst a conflict, consider using humor as your ally. Share a silly anecdote, throw in a lighthearted jab, or simply let out a chuckle at the chaos. These light moments can transform the energy in the room, fostering not just conflict resolution, but also connection and camaraderie. Real-world examples of humor transforming interactions. In one of the more tense meetings of my career, when the air was thick with anxiety and furrowed brows, a colleague suddenly broke the mood with a perfectly timed joke about our over-caffeinated state. He gestured to his fourth cup of coffee and said, "At this point, I'm not sure if I'm more Java or more human." Laughter erupted, cutting through the tension like a hot knife through butter. That moment reminded everyone that we were indeed human, grappling with challenges together. It's fascinating how humor can act as social glue, transforming potentially hostile environments into spaces of collaboration and camaraderie. I've observed how a well-placed quip or a light-hearted comment can turn a frown into a smile and build bridges when they seem impossible, making us relatable to each other, even in the most serious of circumstances. Embracing humor in our daily lives can create connections that are both profound and meaningful. Consider how many misunderstandings could be diffused with a playful wink or a clever pun. Whether it's with a coworker, a neighbor, or a loved one, don't underestimate the power of laughter. It invites openness and encourages dialogue. Maybe replace a mundane meeting opener with a lighthearted anecdote or share a funny meme in a group chat. Even small gestures, like a playful comment on a friend's social media post, can strengthen bonds and foster goodwill. Allow humor to be part of your toolkit for building relationships, as it not only lightens the mood, but also reminds us to take ourselves less seriously. Life is a tricky balance, and sometimes laughter truly is the best antidote. To invite more humor into your interactions, start noticing the little moments in your everyday life that lend themselves to a comedic twist. From the absurdities of public transportation to the quirks of online meetings, the world is filled with opportunities for a chuckle. When you spot something funny, don't shy away from sharing it with those around you. Humor can pave the path to connection by making our shared experiences more relatable and enjoyable. So the next time you find yourself in a serious setting, remember that a sprinkle of laughter could not only lighten the mood, but also reinforce the ties that bind us. Chapter 10. Finding humor in everyday moments. How to develop a cosmic sense of humor. Having a cosmic sense of humor starts with cultivating an open-minded perspective that embraces the myriad of quirks and absurdities life throws our way. Have you ever tried to look at the world through the lens of a child? Their laughter often springs from innocent observations of the world around them, surprising us adults who tend to get bogged down in the mundane. It can be beneficial to detach yourself from the seriousness life seems to insist upon. Instead of seeing everything in black and white, try painting your perceptions with bold strokes of color, embracing contradictions and finding the humor in everyday scenarios. When the waiter trips while serving, instead of cringing, chuckle at the delightful dance of clumsiness. It's these unexpected moments that remind us to lighten up and realize that not everything needs to be perfectly orchestrated to be amusing. Becoming an active participant in joy means diving headfirst into the whirlpool of life's wonderful messiness without worrying about getting wet. It's about choosing laughter over frustration. Why not invite a little silliness into your daily routine? Whether it's making goofy faces at yourself in the mirror, challenging your friends to a pun-off, or finding humor in miscommunication, everything is a potential source of joy. When you actively seek out these moments, you start realizing that joy isn't something outside of you. It's been right there, waiting to be discovered. Allow yourself to be the source of amusement, whether it's by sharing absurd anecdotes or simply finding wonder in situations that others might overlook. The more you practice this, the more you'll find yourself laughing, not just at the world but with it, fostering a lightness that makes even the toughest days bearable. Remember, cultivating a cosmic sense of humor isn't about ignoring the serious things in life. It's about recognizing that amidst all the chaos and challenges, there's a vibrant world of laughter waiting to be tapped into. So next time life hands you a lemon, instead of making lemonade, why not start a citrus-themed comedy club instead? Life is too short to take everything seriously. Embrace the absurd, allow yourself to laugh at the little things, and celebrate the cosmic joke that is life itself. A practical tip? Keep a joy journal, where you jot down funny moments, quirky thoughts, or silly things you notice throughout your day. This simple act shifts your focus to the lighthearted, helping you cultivate that elusive cosmic sense of humor one chuckle at a time. Stories of people turning mundane moments into joyful experiences. It's funny how the most mundane moments can turn into the most cherished memories. I remember one particularly dreary Monday morning when I was dragging myself out of bed like a zombie on a caffeine fast. The coffee maker, my trusty morning companion, had decided to stage a protest. I could hear it sputtering and wheezing in the kitchen, struggling as if it was trying to push out a stubborn cake batter. As I watched in horrified fascination, the whole thing erupted, coffee spewing everywhere like it was trying to reenact a scene from a kitchen disaster movie. Instead of cursing the inanimate object, I found myself laughing at the absurdity of it all. My partner walked in, and we both stood there, covered in coffee grounds, bursting into an uncontrollable fit of laughter. That moment, simple yet chaotic, turned into a highlight of our week. Who knew that a coffee maker could serve as a source of entertainment and bonding? It's those little moments that often hold the key to laughter in our daily lives. Last summer, I found myself at the grocery store, blissfully unaware that my shirt had snagged on the cart. After a series of awkward maneuvers to extract myself, I unintentionally became part of an impromptu circus. The struggle of trying to peel myself off the cart, while maintaining a semblance of dignity, must have been a sight to behold. "Are you okay?" one kind onlooker asked, stifling laughter, while another suggested I should consider a career in interpretive dance. Before I knew it, a small crowd had gathered, all chuckling at my clumsy antics. Instead of blushing, I joined in the laughter, and as ridiculous as the whole situation was, it made that grocery run the most enjoyable of the week. Little did I know I was providing free entertainment. Ordinary errands can become extraordinary when you find the humor in them. We all have these strangely delightful incidents stuffed between the serious business of life, but they often go unnoticed. Take a moment to think back to your own ordinary days. Was there a time you spilled something and somehow made it comedic gold? Maybe you tripped over your own feet, causing a ripple of laughter rather than embarrassment. We often rush through our routines without considering how wildly entertaining they can be if we just pause to acknowledge them. In a world that sometimes feels weighed down by chaos, these little pockets of joy lift our spirits if we let them. Consider keeping a little journal of these moments. Jot down something silly that happened each day. Not only does this capture the joy in moments you might otherwise forget, but revisiting these instances can create a delightful treasure trove of laughter when you're in need of a quick pick-me-up. Life is too short not to find joy in the mundane. The more we embrace these experiences, the more laughter we can sprinkle into our everyday lives. Practical tips for cultivating humor in daily life. Life has a way of throwing a curveball when you least expect it, and the best way to catch it is with a smile. Incorporating humor into your daily life isn't just about telling bad jokes or imitating your favorite comedians. It's about adopting a playful attitude that sees the absurdity in mundane situations. Start by tuning into the little things. Maybe your cat is staring at you as if you owe her money, or your barista spills a bit of coffee but laughs it off with an exaggerated oops. These moments are comedy gold, just waiting to be appreciated. Make it a habit to share these whimsical snippets with your friends or family. You'll not only lighten your own mood, but invite others to laugh along as well. Plus, laughter is contagious. Just one chuckle can spark an entire giggle fest. Now, let's dive into the glorious benefits of approaching each day with a light heart. When you start your day chuckling at the idea of accidentally wearing mismatched socks to a Zoom meeting, you're automatically setting a positive tone. This lighthearted mindset doesn't just lift your spirits, it also opens doors to creativity and problem solving. You're more willing to think outside the box and tackle challenges with a sense of curiosity rather than dread. Plus, the world feels a tad less serious, and who wouldn't want that? Embracing humor can transform mundane routines into delightful adventures. So next time you're overwhelmed by life's chaos, take a step back, chuckle for a moment, and remember, the ability to laugh paints a vibrant brushstroke over the gray canvas of everyday life. Incorporating humor into your daily routine doesn't have to be a monumental effort. Start small. Perhaps send a silly meme to a friend or make a pun during a mundane task. You'll be surprised at how quickly humor can thrive in the cracks of your daily grind. As you cultivate this lightheartedness, you'll find that the world transforms around you, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, with laughter as your guide. Chapter 11. Laughing at Ourselves. Why self-deprecating humor is the highest form of wisdom. Self-deprecating humor is like a mirror that reflects our quirks, flaws, and those awkward moments we try desperately to avoid. When we laugh at ourselves, we open a door to self-awareness that often remains closed in the seriousness of everyday life. This humor allows us to embrace our imperfections, making them part of the larger tapestry of who we are. It's a gentle reminder that nobody is perfect, and in a world where perfectionism can feel like the cruelest of tasks, isn't it refreshing to find humor in our failures? This ability to poke fun at our missteps not only helps us accept our humanity, it also invites others to do the same. When we share a laugh about our blunders, we create a shared experience that builds connection. It's a subtle nod to the understanding that we're all navigating this chaotic existence together, and honestly, we're all just stumbling through life in some fashion. When we bring self-deprecating humor into our conversations, we strip away the layers of pretense that so often accompany social interactions. It's hard to maintain an air of superiority when you're the first to highlight your own shortcomings. This authenticity is incredibly refreshing. It invites others to step out of their own shells and relate to us on a more genuine level. Instead of putting up walls, we're essentially saying, "Hey, I'm just as confused as you are." This creates a space where vulnerability can flourish, leading to deeper connections. In a world obsessed with polished perfection, think Instagram versus reality. The ability to laugh at ourselves becomes a superpower. It disarms judgment and invites empathy, transforming a superficial exchange into something meaningful. After all, isn't it the silly moments we remember most vividly, the laughter shared over blunders, and the stories that begin with, "You won't believe what I did"? Use self-deprecating humor as a tool for connection. The next time you find yourself in a social situation, don't hesitate to share a light-hearted story about one of your epic fails. It might just turn an awkward silence into a belly laugh, and you'll likely find that others follow suit. Remember, authenticity is the new cool. How to balance humility with self-compassion. Finding the sweet spot between laughter and kindness towards ourselves can sometimes feel like navigating a tightrope strung above a pit of self-doubt. On one side, we have humility, that gentle reminder of our beautifully flawed humanity. On the other, we have self-compassion, that warm embrace that tells us it's okay to make a mistake, trip up, or occasionally forget where we left our keys for the umpteenth time. It's a dance, really, one that requires us to recognize our shortcomings without turning them into a comedy show where we're the punchline. Picture yourself in the middle, giggling at how you'll never win an Olympic gold medal in memory skills, while also patting yourself on the back for showing up every day, keys or no keys. The trick is to cultivate a light-hearted view of our missteps while simultaneously practicing kindness. In those moments when we slip up, instead of a vicious internal critique, we can opt for a playful acknowledgement that we're all wonderfully human. After all, who doesn't have a collection of cringeworthy stories tucked away? Encouraging laughter instead of self-flagellation helps bridge the gap between humility and self-compassion, reminding us that we can take ourselves lightly while still holding space for our feelings. To nurture self-compassion through humor, we can engage in a few fun exercises that pack a punch of positivity. One exercise I adore is the letter to my future self approach. Write a letter as if you are your own best friend, complete with inside jokes and witty commentary on past blunders. Imagine addressing your future self and reminding them of every hilarious moment that seemed mortifying at the time, but is now just a delightful memory to treasure. It's about framing your experiences with a sense of lightness and celebrating the imperfect moments. Another exercise involves standing in front of a mirror and giving yourself a pep talk peppered with humor. Try something like, "Hey there, superstar. Remember that one time you thought you could bake a souffle? So did I, and it was a delicious disaster." Embracing kindness while laughing at our blunders builds camaraderie with ourselves. It's like laughing with a friend rather than at ourselves, which creates an open space for self-love to blossom, free of the shackles of harsh judgment. Mixing humor with self-compassion doesn't have to be a Herculean task. Sometimes it's as simple as reframing our thinking. When we feel the urge to criticize ourselves, we can pause, breathe, and consider how we would respond to a friend in a similar situation. Would we tear them apart or share a laugh and help them see the silver lining? Often, this shift in perspective opens up a world of warmth and kindness. A practical tip might be to keep a humor journal, where you jot down funny mishaps or relatable moments that made you chuckle when you least expected it. Use this journal as a resource on days when the inner critic is loud, reminding you that it's perfectly okay to be human, messy, laughable, and altogether wonderful. Exercises to turn personal mishaps into sources of laughter. Engaging in activities that encourage us to reinterpret our blunders with humor can be a wonderful way to lighten our hearts and ease our minds. One of the most effective exercises I've found involves writing down our most embarrassing moments. This can start with a quick 5-minute free write where we spill our thoughts onto the page, no editing allowed. After getting our mishaps out, we revisit them and rewrite each one as if it were a comical skit. Instead of cringing at that time I tripped over the air walking into a meeting, I can spin it into a grand entrance that broke the ice and earned some hearty laughs. These playful rewrites not only help in redefining our perceptions of awkward situations, but also serve as excellent material when we need to lighten the mood or break the ice with others. Sharing these stories can build camaraderie, turning a personal slip into a collective chuckle. Crafting a collage of personal stories that showcase the art of laughing at oneself adds another dimension to this exercise. I once found myself in a situation where I mistook a stranger for an old friend and launched into an elaborate story about that one time on vacation. The bewilderment on their face made the moment almost painfully awkward, but upon reflection, I couldn't help but laugh. I decided to share this slip-up at dinner with friends. As I recounted the tale, each detail morphed into a comedic highlight, and with every laugh that echoed around the table, my embarrassment dwindled. This moment led to a discussion where everyone chimed in with their own whoops stories, creating a collage of laughter that painted our evening in joy. Embracing these moments not only encourages a sense of connection, but allows us to see that we are all imperfectly human, clumsily stumbling through life, but united by the humor in our shared experiences. Turning mishaps into laughs is an art that stems from self-acceptance and perspective. Next time you find yourself blushing from an embarrassing moment, embrace it as a stepping stone to laughter. Write it down, rewrite it with a twist, and share it with those around you. Who knows? The next time you trip over your own feet, it might just be the highlight of the evening, proving that sometimes the best way to heal from our blunders is by laughing at them. Chapter 12. The Joy of Letting Go. Letting go of perfection, control, and the need to always get it right. Surrendering the quest for perfection can feel like shedding a heavy coat that's been 3 sizes too small. It's a liberating experience, one that opens up a world filled with vibrant colors instead of the monochrome of exactness. I've spent my fair share of time trying to color within the lines, convinced that the only way to create something worthwhile was to achieve a flawless final product. But let me tell you, life doesn't come with an instruction manual, and the more I chased perfection, the more I realized that I was running in place, missing out on the rich tapestry of experiences that were unfolding around me. Accepting that it's okay to be imperfect allows us to embrace our quirks and flaws, finding the beauty in things that don't fit societal molds. With every little moment not wasted on striving for unattainable ideals, I've discovered that our imperfections are the brushstrokes that add depth to the canvas of our lives. There's something hilariously beautiful about life's unpredictable outcomes. Picture this. I once tried to bake a soufflé, thinking it would impress my dinner guests. I followed the recipe to a T, channeling my inner Michelin chef, only to have the glorious puffy clouds of egg transform into a sad, deflated pancake of despair. Instead of the masterpiece I envisioned, I was left with a gooey mess. But as I served it up amidst fits of laughter, I watched my friends devour it as if it were the best thing they'd ever tasted. That night, I learned that the laughter we share over mishaps can create memories far more cherished than anything that would have come from a perfect soufflé. Life has a way of throwing us curveballs, but often those diverting paths lead to the kind of happiness we never knew we needed. Embracing the unexpected, instead of striving for the ideal, is where the real magic happens. So, the next time perfection teeters on the edge of your to-do list, remember that happiness often makes a grand entrance when we leave the door ajar. Understanding that perfection is an illusion pushes us toward a more authentic existence. Each time I let go of the expectation to get it right, I invite spontaneity into my life. The secret I've learned is that mistakes are not the enemies we often perceive them to be. Rather, they are the essential ingredients in the recipe for personal growth. Think of them as the spices that add flavor to an otherwise bland dish. Taking the chance to color outside the lines has led me to discover a world that is messy yet delightful. If we stay stuck in the quest for an unattainable ideal, we miss out on the richness of life, the serendipitous moments that spark joy. So here's the tip. Next time you feel the weight of perfectionism creeping in, give yourself the freedom to experiment and trust that your unique journey, with all its hiccups, is exactly where you need to be to find fulfillment. How laughter frees us from attachment and expectation. Laughter can be a surprisingly powerful force in our lives, a delightful remedy that unshackles us from the heavy chains of rigid expectations. I often find myself caught in the meticulous web of shoulds and musts, where every laugh feels like an affront to the seriousness of my plans. Think about it. How many times have you planned the perfect outing, only to be interrupted by a sudden twist of fate or a goofy mishap? Instead of pouting over the ruined agenda, those moments are actually an invitation to giggle. Laughter simply swoops in and whisks you away from the world of structured expectations, reminding you how wonderfully unpredictable life can be. It's as if laughter holds a secret key that swings open the door to spontaneity, allowing joy to flood in where rigidity once reigned. One evening, I was scheduled to attend a meticulously planned dinner party, the kind of event where even the ice cubes are arranged under strict supervision. Much to my chagrin, I found myself arriving late, frazzled and flustered. Just as I was about to step through the elegant doorway, I tripped on the welcome mat, making a spectacular lunge forward and belly flopping into the dining room. What should have been a mortifying moment turned into a laugh riot as my fellow guests erupted with mirth. Instead of their poised dinner party turning into a stiff social affair, we bonded over that ridiculous first impression. Laughter infused the night with lightness, transforming expectations into spontaneous joy. I embraced the chaos, realizing the beauty in letting go and simply being present. In a world where we often feel pressured to hold ourselves to unreachable standards, laughter nudges us towards a more liberated existence. Imagine planning a trip, meticulously scouring reviews, and hastily booking the best Airbnb only to end up lost, stuck in a car with a flat tire, and making questionable pit stops for snacks that should probably be illegal. Instead of letting disappointment dominate, you crack jokes at your misfortunes, capturing the absurdity of the adventure. The memories forged in those moments are far richer than any Instagrammable sunset could offer. Embracing spontaneity allows us to weave a richer tapestry of experiences, where each unpredictable twist is just another thread of laughter. The next time life sends you a curveball, let laughter be your response. Remember, the best moments often arise when we anticipate the least, encouraging us to stay open to whatever madness lies ahead. So consider this practical tip. Try to infuse a little laughter into your plans. Allow room for the absurd, the unexpected, and the downright goofy. You might just discover that joy lies in the detours. Finding joy in surrendering to the flow of life. Letting go is like standing at the edge of a diving board, contemplating a leap into the unknown. I used to tightly grip my life plans, like a kid holding onto their favorite toy at a garage sale, terrified someone would take it away. But what I've come to realize is that when I finally loosened my grip, I was often met with unexpected happiness and adventure. Life has a funny way of surprising you when you stop trying to control every little detail. Picture this. I was once obsessed with having a flawless vacation itinerary, down to the minute, only to end up lost in a tiny Italian village because I missed the bus. Instead of panic, what followed was a delightful afternoon spent sipping wine with locals who couldn't understand my attempts at Italian. That serendipitous afternoon taught me that sometimes, when we let go of control, we find joy in the unexpected turns. Embracing life's uncertainties often feels like agreeing to a cosmic joke, where the universe has the punchline tucked away in its back pocket. Do you ever find yourself wrestling with the unknown, feeling like the universe is trying to prank you? Well, I can assure you it is. I mean, my best ideas and happiest moments typically arrive uninvited, like a surprise party thrown by life itself. When uncertainty rears its head, instead of bracing for impact, try throwing your arms open wide, just like you would for an unexpected hug. You've got to take life's curveballs in stride, else you'll end up with a crick in your neck from all that dodging. Life's unpredictability is a source of comic relief if you let it be. So next time reality throws you a curveball, lean in and laugh. You might just find the punchline is better than you ever imagined. Practical wisdom reveals that surrender isn't about losing control. It's about gracefully participating in the dance of life. A practical tip? The next time you find yourself in a situation that feels beyond your control, take a deep breath and remind yourself to enjoy whatever twist comes next. Like a character in a sitcom, find humor in your misadventures, and who knows, you might just wind up blogging about it one day. The ultimate punchline. Life's great cosmic truth. It's all a little absurd, and that's the point. Embracing life's absurdity is nothing short of a masterclass in personal growth. The moment you stop taking life too seriously is the moment you unlock a certain magic. Since birth, we've been handed a script that dictates how to behave, what goals to chase, and how to navigate the treacherous waters of social norms. Yet, underneath the seriousness lies a vibrant tapestry of ridiculousness waiting to be acknowledged. I remember the time I tried to impress friends by cooking an extravagant dinner, only to find my smoke alarm had a more decisive time of it than I did. Instead of feeling defeated, I laughed so hard I nearly burned dinner again. Life is full of these absurd moments, each one a reminder that the universe has its own sense of humor. If you allow yourself to embrace these quirks, you'll discover that they're not setbacks, but rather stepping stones toward deeper self-understanding. The more openly we face our absurd circumstances, the more we learn to navigate the unpredictable nature of life, which is both humbling and liberating. Humor and absurdity are woven throughout the fabric of our human experiences, like a hidden thread that only the observant can appreciate. From the awkward first dates to the bizarre conversations with our taxi drivers, these moments are ripe with comedic potential. When you think about it, we all have at least one story that's so outrageous it could only belong to the realm of "you can't make this up." Imagine standing in a line with dozens of strangers only to realize you are all waiting for a performance art piece that involves absolutely nothing. You share a collective confusion, but within it lies the glimmer of shared laughter. This is how humor works. It brings us together, reminding us that life is not only about lofty goals and achievements, but also about lightheartedness in the face of chaos. Embracing humor gives us space to breathe, allowing us to find joy even in the depths of our personal dramas. It reminds us that we're all in this bizarre ride together, and we might as well chuckle our way through it. Embracing the absurd and laughing at the world around us is not always easy. It requires a conscious decision to see the lighter side of life, especially when challenges arise. Next time you find yourself in a frustrating situation, try to take a step back and observe it with humor. Consider keeping a journal dedicated to notes of absurd experiences, the laughable missteps, or the comical mishaps that pepper your everyday life. You'll soon find that your perspectives shift from resignation to amusement. This practice not only fosters resilience, but also cultivates an appreciation for the chaotic beauty of life. After all, if we can learn to laugh at ourselves, we're already halfway to winning at this cosmic game of absurdity. Why the ability to laugh at life is a sign of wisdom, not cynicism. Life can sometimes resemble a chaotic circus, where the clowns often bring the loudest laughs while juggling the frazzled expectations of adulthood. Embracing humor in the face of life's challenges isn't just about being a jokester. It's a profound way of showcasing wisdom. When we find the funny side of tough situations, we gain a unique perspective that empowers us to navigate the storm. Humor allows us to step back and see the bigger picture. It's like putting on a pair of whimsical glasses that transform the mundane into something absurdly manageable. A sage can see that falling flat on one's face may hurt the ego, but it also makes for an uproarious story to tell later. This shows the resilience inherent in wisdom. Instead of wallowing in despair, wise people choose to poke fun at their missteps, inviting others into the delightful chaos of being human. Encouraging a humorous outlook on life opens doorways to connection and understanding that might otherwise be locked behind the harsh door of cynicism. Rather than harboring a sense of bitterness that breeds isolation, humor acts as a universal language that fosters camaraderie. When faced with ridiculous circumstances, opting for laughter instead of despair allows us to form connections that can help lighten even the heaviest burdens. Sharing a laugh about life's absurdities brings people together. It reminds us that no one is immune to the unforeseen bumps on this wacky journey. We're all just characters in this shared comedy of errors, and we might as well enjoy the ride. So, when those ridiculous moments strike, instead of rolling your eyes or sulking, try laughing, because acknowledging the absurdity of it all is not a sign of defeat. It's evidence of a wise and witty spirit fully engaged in the grand narrative of life. When finding humor in life's challenges becomes second nature, it cultivates a mindset that seeks joy and levity even in the darkest days. This doesn't mean we disregard our feelings or skirt around important issues. Rather, it's about recognizing that laughter can coexist with seriousness. It's a tool in the toolbox of resilience. Next time you find yourself standing staring into the proverbial void of life's dilemmas, ask yourself, is there a humorous angle here? This shift in perspective not only alleviates stress, but also paves the way for practical solutions. Encouraging a practice of humor in your life can transform mundane worries into light-hearted chuckles, illuminating wisdom in every corner of existence. So, keep your sense of humor at the ready. It's not just a laughter-inducing mechanism, but one of the wisest approaches to handling life itself. Embrace the humor in your human drama and live with more joy, connection, and freedom. Life, in all its delightful chaos, often serves up situations that could be downright ridiculous if we only paused long enough to see them. Anyone who has tripped over their own feet while entering a room knows this truth. Imagine if we approached our daily dramas with just a pinch of humor. We would realize how much lighter our burdens become when we can laugh at the missteps and absurdities of life. Embracing humor isn't just about sharing a funny meme or telling a joke. It's about recognizing that in our shared experiences, sometimes awkward, often hilarious, we forge deeper connections with those around us. Humor has a unique ability to draw people together, cutting through the heavy fog that can cloud relationships. When we laugh, whether it's at ourselves or with others, we build bridges instead of walls, inviting an atmosphere of love, understanding, and acceptance. Laughter is one of the most underrated, yet powerful tools we have to enrich our human experience. It can transform a mundane moment into a cherished memory, and it brings an unexpected freedom, a reprieve from the weight of daily responsibilities. Picture a room full of people, each wearing the weight of the world on their shoulders. Now imagine a spontaneous outburst of laughter echoing through that space. Suddenly, the worries begin to fade, replaced by a shared joy that strengthens the bonds between individuals. It's as if laughter has its own gravitational pull, drawing us closer together, turning strangers into comrades. The next time you find yourself in a moment where life feels too heavy, remember to look for the humor. Not only does it lighten the load, but it also cultivates an atmosphere where joy can thrive. You might even find that your life's greatest pleasures and connections lie hidden in the laughter you embrace. Let's make a pact. The next time life throws curveballs your way, laugh at them. Seek out the humor in tough situations and share those giggles with others. It's not about ignoring difficulties. It's about adding a spoonful of joy to our human potluck of experiences. So, find that spark of wit within you, let your inner comedian loose, and watch as it transforms your interactions and outlook on life. This isn't just about lightheartedness. It's a revolutionary act of self-care and connection. You have the power to turn a mundane Tuesday into a day worth recounting later, filled with laughter and the warmth of shared human experience. And remember, if you can find the humor in your story, you can also inspire others to do the same. So keep your eyes peeled for life's absurdities, share a laugh, and watch your world expand with joy, connection, and freedom. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the cosmic joke, finding humor in the human drama. I hope this exploration has brought you not just laughter, but a renewed sense of perspective on life's challenges and absurdities. Remember, life isn't a problem to be solved. It's a dance to be enjoyed, a joke to be shared, and a story to be told. And as you move forward, may you carry with you the wisdom to laugh at life's twists and turns, the courage to embrace its imperfections, and the joy of truly living in its ridiculous beauty. If this audiobook brought a smile to your face or sparked a new insight, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It's a simple act that helps us continue creating content that uplifts and inspires. And who knows, your share might be just what someone else needs to brighten their day. Until next time, remember, life is the cosmic joke we're all in on. So laugh often, love deeply, and never take it too seriously. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next adventure.